So, okay, so we can just start talking about some stuff. Do you have any Tango Tech that you want to talk about today?
Sure, throw me under the bus first thing.
Well, you always have Tango Tech. Like, you always are telling me about all these different things that you get and try.
Well, you know what I can talk about? It's not really, I wouldn't call it Tango Tech, but it's tech for my car.
Oh.
So over the weekend, I bought these. You know how I got about my new truck, and it's supposed to be a Lariat, and I've constantly been complaining about it's missing all these things that it should have because it's a Lariat. So I bought these off from eBay, these side markers that you pop out the fake grills, you pop these in and light it, and they've got a flag in there. So the flag lights up, and it lights up white LED, and then when you turn your turn signal on, it turns just like little sequencing orange on it. So it's very cool, and I love them a lot. So
Really?
yeah, I guess that would be my tech for today. And but you're not drinking anything tonight.
Well, I had water, but I left it. I left it in the car. So I don't have a drink.
I'm drinking something very simple, which I usually have something more a little bit. I am drinking a nice Pinot Grigio tonight because it's part of our dinner tonight, which is we had an anniversary dinner tonight. We've been married for 14 years.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Just two of the co-hosts dealing with that.
Did you just see that and just realize?
I just realized that.
I was going to write that. You were like, what? Welcome back to Tango Talks. Today we're talking with Jake Didinsky. He is a 32-year-old non-binary advocate, chief operating officer at the Talk About It company, published author, professional DJ, and the founder of Lobo, a nightclub event series in 8+ cities. He has served on Montgomery County's Intellectual Development Disabilities Commission and Community Engagement Review Board, currently serves as Vice President of Autism on the Go, and is the first LGBTQIA+ and non-binary president of the American Outlaws DC chapter. Jake lives with mitochondrial disease, ADHD, and autism, and brings a perspective shaped by chronic illness, queerness, disability, government advocacy, health, media, and building communities from scratch. Whether your interest is policy, identity, nightlife, health, or sports, Jake has lived it and will talk about it openly.
Thank you, Angela.
You bet. We're waiting for Jake. I can't wait to talk to him. Can't change it. I sure can, and there it is.
My goodness. The things I have to put up with. Are you okay?
I am. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
Just had to get like everything situated. It's been a bit of a day.
Are you just audio only?
No, I'm gonna get on the camera. Just let me grab my
there you are.
real quick and get like legitimately I've been sick all day.
I feel sorry for
No. It's like I knew I was like all day. I was like, I feel like I have this thing and I can't remember what it is. And it wasn't showing on my calendar. And then lo and behold, there was a text. I'm like, that's what it was. Like, that's what I've been having to figure it out. So
I was just
really have to reach out.
Well, I was just telling Angela, like, I'm glad I asked for people's cell phone numbers so I could reach out to them.
No, like me too, because like legitimately it has been a day.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, are you
okay?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better now. Just like I think I got this thing that everybody else has going around, like this 24-hour virus or whatever, and it's just been trying to not puke my brains out, but I'm on the other side of it, so like we're doing
please
okay.
don't do it while you're.
I promise not on there.
I will lose it, and I don't know how Angela is to seeing other people vomit.
No, you're good. I got all of it out.
Oh, yeah.
We got it all out, so it should be good.
Well, welcome to the show. I do apologize for getting you out of bed.
It's okay.
We already did an introduction for you, which we will add on to the beginning of the show. So we read your whole introduction for you. So I think we'll just jump into the questions.
Let's do it.
So I guess my first curiosity is, what is mitochondrial disease and how does it stop the way you move through the world?
Yeah. So we all like remember like biology class, right? They talk to you about like the mitochondria cell, and they take it's like kind of like a little jelly bean, almost if you can picture it. And they tell you, oh well, it's like the powerhouse of the cell. It makes like 98% of your ATP energy, and then we all leave biology class and never ever think about that cell again.
Right.
I am in the 0.0001% of the people who don't get to stop thinking about that cell. So basically, mitochondrial disease, like at its most basic form, is if you think of that same jelly bean as 5 individual chambers, and anytime more than one of those chambers don't work right, you have a mitochondrial disease. That's kind of how we explain it now. Because it's cellular, that means it's in everything in your body, which means that no two people who have mitochondrial disease are ever going to present the exact same way in terms of their symptoms, in terms of their conditions, in terms of when they're having good days or bad days, when their energy is up or is down. So it makes it really fun. Sometimes you go to the hospital and you know more about your condition than the doctors, and that's always a fun, super awesome time. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
but,
that's fascinating.
But I mean, overall, like I would say that if anything, while yes, it has its downsides, having this condition has very much so made me the person who I am. And not having lived through what I've lived through would have made me an entirely different human being. So I mean, like there are good days, there are bad days, there are days when I feel like I can run a marathon, and as you've seen, there are days when I'm just not getting out of bed. And you never really know what you're gonna get. But it's yeah, I don't know. I think we're learning more about it. Even like 2 weeks ago, I got some pretty big news that was revealed to me about my condition, which is for the longest time, I had always been told, people in my community had always been told that only the mother could pass mitochondrial disease on. Like if I had a kid, there was, as long as my wife didn't have mitochondrial disease, like our child wouldn't have it. But now we've learned that it can also be passed through the dad and the nuclear DNA as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's definitely makes for some fun talking points, that's for sure.
Well, I can relate on a small scale, only because when I was 33, we're going back a couple decades now. I was diagnosed HIV positive, and it was the same. I had those same feelings. Like there were days where, when I first started taking my meds, there were days where I felt great. And then there were days where it's just like, oh my goodness, I can't even read anything without getting sick. I don't want to get out of bed, and it was draining, so I can't imagine having something that affects your whole body on a cellular level. It's got to be, a tough thing from day to day.
It is and it isn't. I have a lot of friends, being LGBTQ myself, who are older than I am, who were alive during the HIV crisis and have HIV themselves, and are some of the most awesome, strong people I know, who I actually take inspiration from, weirdly, in terms of like seeing that, they still find ways to make things happen when they easily could have said, screw it, I'm out. And so I think that it's easy, there are times when I'm definitely down and sad and depressed, and I'm like, why me? Why this? Like, why now? Like, what's the point? But then I also look around and I go, well, because maybe there's somebody out there who's younger than I am who just needs to see that this isn't a death sentence.
It's survivable.
100%. I mean, it's harder, right? Like, don't get me wrong, it is harder, but harder doesn't mean impossible. And I like things harder.
Yeah. But it's probably, I mean, like you're finding a way to just be functional with it. You know, you're not just like, oh my gosh, this is the end and there's no hope for me and that kind of thing. Or did you go through something like that?
I mean, so when I was a kid, I think I was more in the latter half, right? Like as a 13, 14-year-old, really big into sports, really big from Philly. Like I wanted to play football, I wanted to play hockey, and there was just times when I couldn't, and I didn't fully grasp as a child, right? Like, well, something's clearly different. Like I'm aware of that, right? I'm smart enough to know that I'm not the exact same as everybody else in my class. Also I had the feeding tube, so like that was a pretty clear giveaway as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was it originally did start off like that, very much that, well, what was the point? It got really bad, full disclosure, really bad in my teenage years, like, that 16, 15, 17, trying to figure everything out. And then somewhere along the line, I'd say maybe like 23, 24, 25 is kind of when I turned that corner and realized, well, I'm going to do these things that everyone's telling me I can't do, partly out of spite because I am from Philadelphia, and because like I saw other people doing it. Like I saw other people being told that they couldn't do this thing and then going and doing that thing. Like I DJ, right? I play music in a nightclub in a notoriously very warm building for 5 hours at a time, something that someone with my condition should not be able to do. But I do it. Is it the best thing in the world for me? Probably not. Do my doctors love it? No, they do not. But does it make me happy? It does.
Yeah. And there's a lot to say for doing things that make you happy. You know what I mean? I think happiness for the soul, it goes a long way for, keeping yourself healthy.
It does.
I mean, I believe that, Um, I know I was told things from the beginning, like, you're either going to die from the disease or the drugs. You go back, when I was, 30 years ago, the drugs I was basically being given chemotherapy in a pill form. And, you know, it was very, very hard on my body and especially my kidneys and liver, trying to filter that stuff out. So I was told, things like that too. I was like, well, great. I'm 33 and I want to die at 35, So luckily, the medication's caught up with the times, and, I'm on a very good route right now. And my doctors are happy with everything. I've been, undetectable for the last 20 years. So everybody's happy with that, and I'm happy with that. And it's great. But it's always in the back of my mind that, I carry this, and whether, I know they say, non-transmittal and undetectable, it doesn't mean that I can't transmit it to somebody, so, I'm very, very, we're very, very careful with my husband. We're very careful with everything that we do. And it's just the way it is. You just learn to live with that, and it becomes part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to like stigmas and things and all these attachments we grow up hearing around words, this, that, and the other. I think that even today, like myself being in that community still, like there's still a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication and generalized anxiety around even the words like undetectable or Mr. Smiley or all of these things
Yeah.
that, we try to break stigma with to try to make people understand. And so all that is to say, because I really want to loop back around on Angela's question, is that it's not always like this. What you're seeing right now is not always my persona, like not always happy, not always outgoing. Like there's definitely days where it does kind of feel like, well, this really sucks. And, you know, content warning for your listeners and for you guys if you want to edit this out, but I'm an open book. There have been a few times in my life where I have tried to say I want off of this rock. Thankfully, I'm here, right? And
Right.
I take solace in knowing that the odds of there being someone out there like me who was in their 16, 17-year-old age trying at that time to figure out like they just want to fit in, but they're different and feeling like they're never ever gonna make sense or there's not this clear road. Well, I want to tell them that the answer to the question is part yes and part no, right? we're all a little weird, and
Right.
there's no one's ever 100%.
Angela's a little weirder than all of us, but a lover.
But like no one's ever 100% in their good days or 100% in their bad days. It's about finding the balancing act and trying to leave the world a little bit better than you found it. And I feel like I've done that. And so, it wasn't always the easiest road. There definitely were some woe is me days. There still are. But at the same time, then I get
think
up
we
and I
all
look
go through
around.
those.
Yeah, just like you're saying, we all go through days like that.
I was just talking to
it's
Angela before
just-
the show. Like I had like 2 weeks ago. I was like, I had one of those weeks where it's just like,
Yeah.
everything I do is just, a fuck up. I mean, I'm just, this didn't work, that didn't work. And my husband's like, you're not a fuck up. It's just you're just having a bad week. I was like, okay, well, it just feels like everything I touch is just, a fuck up right now. And and I had a therapist one time tell me, nothing in this world is ever always or never. Those words don't really, they shouldn't really exist because it's not always, a bad day. It's not, it's never, you know what I mean? Like they don't really correlate to anything. You don't, it's never always, like they're always this and they never do that. That it doesn't work. It doesn't happen in reality. But I'm glad that you're comfortable enough to talk about this and be open with, especially that part about questioning the quality of life, because I've gone through that and I'm sure many people have, and it takes a lot to say that out loud. But let's kind of table that and for a little bit, and we'll probably come back to that. But so I see that you serve on a bunch of disability commissions. We've talked about you on the nightclub, DJ circuits and parties, and operate a health media company. How does all that fit into one life? I mean, that's a lot to carry. Plus, you're doing podcasts.
Yeah, like I picture Jake like running around like a crazy man doing all these things in a 24-hour span, Like, do you sleep? No, yes.
So the honest answer is I like, just by proxy of my condition, like no one really knows how long you're going to be here, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I experienced everything. Now, I might have taken that a little bit too far in the experience everything avenue, but I'm really good at what I do, and I really enjoy what I do. They're actually passing a law next week named after me in Montgomery County, Maryland, called the Didinsky Advocacy Act, which I had spent the
That
last
is
3
awesome.
years on. Yeah, I'm actually really both shocked and still kind of wrapping my head around, because for 3 years we fought for it, and it, long story short, I served on the IDD Commission for Intellectual Developmental Disabilities in Montgomery County. And the membership was kind of wonky in terms of who they had sitting on it. They only actually had 2 people on a 19-person commission with IDD. I said, hey, that makes us not even a minority of the votes. We're a super minority of votes, which means you can pass anything out of this commission that's like for us without ever needing any of our support. That seems, and don't take it from just me, just look around, wrong. What if we go and look at the DD commissions and things that already exist where we have 60%, and then, they didn't listen. So I resigned. And in resigning, I essentially gave a pretty fiery speech being like, look, I'm resigning because I'm not lending my name to something to be a check mark on a glorified so-and-so. And then the next week, they took the law that I had already basically written for them, along with the 60 pages in support of it. And now it's on its way. And by this time next week, it will be a law. The membership will change to feature 75%. And the voting body will be people with IDD or their family members, 3 members of people who use self-directed services. And it took 3 years, but like it's a win. And when they sent me the letter, the entire commission signed it saying that they were asking the county to name it after me. And I was like, I'm not normally like speechless, but that's cool. I didn't do it for that, but like I was more on the lines of like, I think the first thing I said was there's a typo in the bill. And then I think the second thing I said was, which just tells you like legitimately
You typed this shit up.
literally, and then I said, I'm just really happy we've gotten something even so incrementally small done for my community, because it also, like, it sets a pathway for other marginalized groups, right? Like if you're going to have a commission for any marginalized group, you probably should have a majority of the seats within that table, so to speak, be from, and I know this is an out there idea, that group. Otherwise, you're not doing anything.
I agree, because you can't understand and relate to the problems if you're not part of that group. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these commissions, is that they throw together people that they may have read the books and they've read this and they know about it, but they're not part of the group. And it's a totally different world when you are part of one of these groups and you're trying to get things done, and you're dealing with people who aren't part of the group, and they're just like, well, I don't understand, we're doing the best we can. It's like,
Yeah, but not even and not to mention the impossibility of advocating for the group that you're trying to be, advocating for. I mean, you can't possibly do it if you have no understanding of what is happening there.
So what I'll say is the thing. So looking back on my time on like that commission, I know this wasn't the initial question, but it's worth pointing out. Like one of the things that I learned within that commission that has stuck with me is that I'm a pretty hard-headed person. That's not what I learned. This is blown up, but I'm pretty hard-headed. I'm pretty stubborn. No community, no matter how much they want to be able to do everything on their own, even within their own community, will ever be able to accomplish everything without the help of other communities, right? You need allies, you need other people sometimes to advocate when no one is hearing you. This bill got passed in part because of me, but in part because I had a really strong ally in the commission who herself does not have IDD, named Lisa, who was my voice when no one would hear me, and took basically my words and said them. And everyone was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And I said, all right, fine, let's do it this way. And so what it taught me is that sometimes you just need the right person who someone's willing to hear in the room. And while Lisa didn't have the lived experience, she had me who had the lived experiences giving it to her to get it across the finish line. And up and until that point, I had never really wanted to accept that it's okay to like ask for help in advancing things, because I just didn't think that it was something I wanted to do. Like I've marched in enough protests. I've made myself pretty vocal, even in communities that aren't mine, being from North Philadelphia. Like I care a lot about things. But when I spoke on this, because I had a public hearing on the bill last week, I showed up and said, advocacy isn't just showing up and speaking when it affects you. Advocacy is showing up and speaking even when it doesn't affect you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you say all that, because when we first set this interview up, I did a quick internet search for your name. She was like all over the place. I was like, dang, this guy is everywhere. I'm like, all right, let's try to narrow it down, some of this information. But God, that's awesome. God bless, and thank you for getting that push through it, and being the forerunner for getting that set up and moving it through, because I think the world needs more people like that, that are willing to not only help their group but connect with other groups, and hopefully create larger communities that care about each other.
I think one of my favorite quotes is like, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? Like, I mean, I think we as like a society have gotten into this mindset lately where in order for X group to go forward, Y group has to go back. And my entire mindset is, nah, let's hold hands and go forward together. Like because it may not be me today, but if it's not me today, it's me tomorrow. And like with the mitochondrial disease, especially, you kind of start to see how it all comes together, and why I've gotten involved so much of this in things, because my life, even hour to hour, feels like running a relay race, where when I can't anymore because of the mitochondrial disease, I have no choice but to pass the baton off to a friend of mine to help me keep doing what I'm trying to do. And then when they get tired because their mitochondrial disease is acting up, guess what? All right, I'm tagging back in. And so if you start to think of it in terms of as a collective, we go as far as we can. We pass it off, and then we get ready to run again. And whenever we can, you start to see, okay, yeah, that's why I got involved in politics. That's why, I wrote the book. That's why I do the podcast. That's why I do all these things, because I just hope that maybe somewhere out there we're making a small drop in the bucket of good. And it also lets me meet a ton of people, sometimes people who have differing views than mine, but that's awesome because that's what makes us human.
Right.
And I love that.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly why we started this podcast, because we absolutely love meeting people like you. And we started putting together, it's on our website, we started putting together a podcast map to show where all of our guests come from across the country. And we've just enjoyed meeting all these different people and talking about everything. We right from the beginning, we had problems like trying to title the show. We knew it was going to be Tango Talks, but then what? What are we? And people kept asking, like, well, what do you
What do
talk
you
about?
do?
What do
Yeah.
you do? And it was like, and we just sat here like week after week, like, I don't know, what are we talking about? So then we finally just settled on just the human experience. I mean, we just want to hear stories from people, and it doesn't matter, where they're from or what it is, but we want to hear their stories, and we want to converse with them and just share and have a good conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's very true, because we have conversations, like you just said, we're having conversations with everyone. It's not like we've got, we're not just interviewing you. So tell us, Jake, and 50 questions, it's like we're actually having a conversation with all of our guests. And we really love that, because we learn a lot. I feel like our podcast has really been a learning experience.
Right. Well, now if I can just get Riverside to do the cameras right, because my OCD is driving me crazy, because every time I look at her, I'm like looking out the window. And I'm like, every time I look at her, I look like my corner eye. You can probably see it all the time. I'm looking at the camera. It's like, why am I looking that way when she's over there? But that's a separate story. That's my own OCD. So, anyways, we'll get back to the show.
Yeah. But I mean, you're doing a lot of things, Jake. I mean, you're involved in all areas, like we said, and you're not talk, you're just talk, you're action too. Tell us a little bit about, like, how do you decide where you're going, like how do you decide that? Because it sounds like, I mean, does it just roll into you a certain way, or like how are you doing it all, really?
You know, that was a really good question, like, because it's I often well, so the other day I sat down and I kind of wanted to look at just all the different things I had done, like, in my life, like various things, and I started writing just basically a list. And that started like 10 in the morning, and around like 9 p.m. my roommate, my best friend, was knocking at the door. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I didn't realize we had been going at it for that long. Um, and I ended up with like an 80-page long PDF. And what I realized is I have no freaking idea how I end up in half of the stuff that I end up in. I'm happy that I do, but what I think I discovered is that more often than not, I'll finish one thing, and then, unlike sane people, I'll want to go like right into the next thing. I mean, we just finished the World Cup. I'm also the president of like the American Outlaws DC chapter, so which is the largest U.S. soccer supporters chapter in the country. We have a national branch too, and that was awesome. And like lots of mixed feelings there on anyone who watched it, but um, immediately the day that ended, I started working on the Women's World Cup, which is next year. So I gave myself 1 hour of break.
But people must see you as an important point of view and authority. You know what I mean? So that's got to bring you some. It's got to bring you some happiness and joy that people think of you that way.
I think what I'll say is this. So at one of the games during the World Cup, for the first time ever, at the end of the game, the bar, which was Body to Body, decided to give me a round of applause for the work that I had put in, for drumming the whole game, for helping lead the cheers all game, for like an appreciation of how much of the last 4 years like we had sunk into it. And that was really cool. But the reason I do the things that I do, and what brings me honestly the most joy, is seeing other people happy, right? Like it's like I always have a hard time with this part because like I always just see myself as the kid from like South Jersey, Philadelphia, who like isn't anything all that spectacularly special. Like I just do things, but my friends like to hit me upside the head whenever I say that to make sure that that doesn't stick around too long. But it's true. I think that in terms of what I do, and this probably won't come as a surprise, I wish I could do more. Like I wish I was able to do everything and help everyone. I learned early on that it's if you I spread myself too thin, which arguably, looking at it, one could make an argument that I can't help anybody, right? Because then I'm not doing anything. But yeah, I mean, I knew that during my 30s, I was going to take some time and focus on some of the projects that really mattered to me specifically. Like I wanted to write a book. I wrote a book because I was always told in high school that I was not going to be a good writer and I shouldn't bother. So
you
I wanted to do it. I'm about to publish a poetry album. Same concept. I was always told, well, you can't do this. And I said, okay, well, why not? I think that if you look at it like in terms of arcs of like where I've gone through my life, like my high school years were a disaster, but like they were my disaster, and I love them, and I'm My Chemical Romance era never
But
left.
to me, it sounds like if somebody says to Jake, "You can't do that," then
Oh yeah,
next week you're gonna start doing
You're
it.
gonna do it, yeah.
it'll be done 100%. Yeah, I mean that's the Philadelphia in me. Like you got to understand, like one, like people in the Northeast and especially from Philadelphia, we are very, I don't want to say creatures of spite, but like we're the type of people who are like, oh, we can't, okay. And then also, North Philadelphia is a rougher part of the area. And then on top of that, I spent time living in the Caribbean, and I learned to understand a lot of different viewpoints that I maybe wouldn't have had. And it's kind of created this weird arc, like I said, of teenage years, 20s was focused on everybody else and doing everything for everybody else. And now my 30s are kind of focused on trying to give back to the community that helped get me here, but also realizing that I am also a person who is allowed to be happy and take time for myself.
Absolutely.
And it's hard though. It's hard.
You keep saying it's a Philadelphia mindset, but it sounds more like a Welsh mindset.
My ex-girlfriend was Welsh. They have the same thing we do in Philly.
I just recently found out, like last year through Ancestry.com, that I'm Welsh and Scottish and not so much Irish. So I'm like, okay, well, I can deal with that because the Welsh never wrong and the Scottish like to drink. So, I'm happy.
They like to party. No Scotland, no party. They're great. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I feel like I think I talk about it in the book I wrote. Like weirdly, it's almost like a newsroom in my head, and that at all times it's just constantly running and processing. Okay, can we do this? Do we have time for that? How do we say yes to this? And then like even right now, the words that are coming out have probably been screened and edited several times over because of the autism. And so,
How many milligrams are your sleep gummies?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
Mine's
a whole
30.
different thing. Yeah, but I mean, so I don't know, man.
Sometimes
I
just
also
take 2 of them.
the other part I'll say is because I don't really get to say this on a lot of these podcasts a lot is I have an incredibly strong and gifted group of friends around me who I would not be able to do half the stuff I do without them. They are my best friends. I hesitate to call them coworkers because they hate that word, but like none of the projects I complete are ever done single-handedly. And so I just feel like I've been lucky enough to cultivate people around me who believe that I'm trying to make the world better. And, here we are.
Awesome.
That is awesome. So you were talking about, you wrote a book. It's called The Architecture of Uncertainty.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I
Why are you saying that with a smirk? Like a little like, okay.
well, because so that book was written in a hyperactive state of 3 months when I was in the hospital. And partly out of spite. But like so I was really depressed. I mean, I was like really, really sad. And I wanted something to channel this energy into. And so I just sat down. I started writing, and I had no idea what it was I was writing when I started it. In fact, in the book, I think my opening like prologue to the prologue is, hey, if you're reading this, just understand that when I started writing this, this was not what it was intended to be. But ultimately, I wanted to write, I think, an ethics book on like from like my perspective, my view on ethical issues and things that turned into a philosophy book that turned into a, well, you can't understand how I think from a philosophical ethical standpoint unless you understand what it's like being inside the brain of someone who has autism and the way that my brain operates. So let me take you back through that. So then it became like part of biography, and we ended up with a first half biography, which tells you about my life and why my brain works the way it does, and how like I feel oftentimes my system operating system is Linux and the rest of the world is Windows, right? Linux can run Windows. I can adjust to run in a world that was not made for me, but Windows cannot run a Linux OS. And so you start to talk about that, and I explain that, you know, in order to get to the actual part where I tell you my views on ethics or philosophy, you have to first be willing to set aside all of your preconceived notions about autism and other things. And then I
And I
ended up
love
with
that
a book.
analogy too about Linux and Windows. That's awesome.
Yeah, that one goes to my ex-girlfriend, Jackie. She's great. We're on very good terms. She's the one who came up with the concept, and it stuck because I'm like, honestly, that's what it feels like sometimes is I can change my output to operate in a system that is running Windows like the rest of the world. And cool, but no one else, if they're not a Linux, can change their OS to run what I'm operating on. And so it was a really cool experience. I'm working on a second, which that also led to the poetry album, and then a third book unrelated. But I wanted it to be shorter so that people who have who are neurodiverse could also understand, but maybe people who are neurotypical, right, could pick it up and try to understand, like, hey, this is what like happened in my brain. You see 2 seconds of words, but it is like the New York Times up here sometimes.
Right. Like me, like, you know, where like, you know, all it takes is something shiny flashing over the corner, and I'm down a rabbit hole for a good hour and a half. Then all of a sudden somebody's like, weren't you working on a sign? It's like, oh yeah, let me get back to that sign and work on that sign. Because it doesn't take much to distract me at all. But
Yeah.
um this next question is kind of personal to me. I was married before. I had 2 children, 2 sons, and one is an architect in Baltimore, and another is a drag performer in Charlotte, North Carolina, who came out a couple years ago as non-binary. And it kind of threw me for a loop because at the time it was kind of like a new term that people were hearing. And I just, you know, and he was like, you know, so you say, you know, so now, you know, my pronouns are they, them. And me being me was like, well, what are you carrying a mouse in your pocket with all y'all? I don't understand the they, them. It confuses me. So it took some education from him to explain it to me. And I still find it interesting. Yeah, you know, the whole concept of it. But what's it like being non-binary in spaces that are still overwhelmingly cis dominated? But I think that's not
Well,
even just cis. I think it's even beyond non-binary. I think still even the LGBT community is still finding
yeah.
it overwhelming sometimes.
So let me approach this one the first way first. You're not alone in the concept of the parent.
I didn't mean to offend you. I hope I
No,
didn't offend you by
no,
that.
God, no, no, no,
But
no, no. I
it,
love this question. It's a great question. So I had to explain to my mother that I was non-binary. Um, and in a similar vein, she just didn't quite like she had a hard time wrapping her head around it. Like it didn't make sense to her at the time. I think she said something along the lines of like, she was like, I don't care if you want to be a boy or if you want to be a girl. I don't understand. I'm like, well, mom, and maybe it's not for you to understand. Like I am telling you because you're my mother, but like also like maybe there's just some things in life you don't have to understand. Okay, now fast forward, and I swear to God, this is how it happened. Fast forward 6 months, and on Drag Race, on RuPaul's Drag Race, which my mom was a huge fan of, so yay. Got Mick was a performer, and Got Mick was the very first openly non-binary. Eventually became trans, but openly non-binary on their season, Drag Queen. And I got a call from my mother about 3 episodes into that season, being like, "I get it now." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's 3 a.m. You live in California." You live in California. I'm on the East Coast. What do you mean? She's like, no, I get the non-binary thing. And I'm like, that's great. I'm super happy for you. It's 3 a.m. I'm going back to sleep. So I say this to say that, sometimes the way people learn the things that they do or the thing that makes life goes off, it's really never the thing that we want, right? Like in a perfect world, I would have loved for her just to get it when I explained it, but it is newer, and I describe it when people ask me like, well, what does non-binary mean to you, or like, what does that like look like to you, like, because you look like a guy, and I explain it like this. So remember how I was talking about that Linux system? Okay. Well, I don't think that anything in life is ever 100% black or 100% white. I think that everything is fluid, and therefore, I am not a 1 or a 0. I am just me, and that is what makes me non-binary. I want to wear a dress, I'm gonna wear a dress. If I want to wear a skirt with a Phillies jersey and a backwards hat, like I'm at the world's worst confused frat party at a sorority house, then I'm gonna do that because that's what makes me me. And I think that when we try to put labels on things, that's where things get confusing. And so that's, I mean, like, that's kind of how I explain it, is that nothing about me has ever been binary. My life in its own right makes 0 sense 9 times out of 10. So it would only make sense that I would be non-binary.
Well, I love that explanation, and my youngest son, I'm actually going down, and he's in Charlotte. I'm going down in 2 weeks because he's actually performing in Charlotte's Pride Parade.
Yes,
and he has no qualms about. I mean, he's a big kid. I mean, he's probably 6 to 8 inches taller than I am.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
And
Yeah.
he's pretty, hefty, and full bearded queen, and and they love him down there, and he has no qualms. So he'll walk up and down Charlotte in a skirt, and this freaking 6'6" dude, you know what I mean, and he don't care, you know what I mean. He's like, this is me, and this is where I'm comfortable doing, and I applaud him all the time. I tell him all the time, I wish I had a quarter of your courage at your age, to be who I was. It took me to 33 to come out, and I wish I had the courage that he's got, now, being at, well, he's almost the same age that I was when I came out. But it's great. I love him to pieces, and I can't wait to go down and see him at the show. But yeah,
I think sometimes it gets forgotten, the generations that came before mine, like that paved the road for us to be able to do that, right? And not to go too far down that rabbit hole, but like I think it's worth saying that I feel sometimes the older generations look at ours and be like, "Oh, it's so cool," like, and I wish I could have. But the reality is, you did everything that y'all did and generations before y'all did so that we could. And
Right.
I just wanted to stress that I think sometimes that gets lost, especially in the LGBTQ these days, that like, Pride was a riot originally. It involved drag queens and women of color and trans women of color. And without them, it would not be as easy. And I just wanted to take a very brief second to say that, I am lucky to live in a world now where so many people fought as hard as they did for me to be able to be myself. And for me to tell those people now, I will fight just as hard to ensure that it stays that way.
That's awesome. And appreciate it. You know, I mean, you don't hear that from a lot of younger generations. You know what I mean? They just take what they've got and I hope I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but but there's a lot of younger generations that just and I'm not talking LGBTQ, I'm just talking younger generations that just feel that they're owed something, you know, and I deal with it on a daily basis. I run, you know, 2 businesses, and you know, these people come in and they just they don't understand when you say no to them. And it's like, you, no, you can't have it that way. You know what I mean? And they feel disrespected, and it's just so it's nice to hear when you say, you know, that you appreciate, not that I was physically a part of, you know, the changes, but my generation was a part of those changes. So it's nice to hear that from you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you made a conscious decision to live on your terms, even if it cost you years. How do you think about that trade-off nowadays?
This one hits closer to home, probably because like, you know, the ramifications are catching up with me, and like, you know, hospital visits become more frequent as I'm entering my, you know, mid 30s. I was on a different show, I think, like a few weeks ago. Someone said, "Well, would you change like anything at all? Like looking back now, like knowing what you've done?"
That's
And
a hard question, though. You know,
well, for me, it was pretty straightforward. No, not at all. I would make, if you told me I would be sitting here right now, like same exact medical ramifications and play everything the same way, the answer is absolutely yes, 100%. Because I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't. To me, that question's always come across, that question in particular, when you add that one on, it always comes out flawed because you're saying that, would you change the things that made you who you are? And my answer is, well, no. If I wasn't sick or didn't have this condition, I wouldn't have learned how to empathize with people so well. I wouldn't have learned to hear people rather than hear what I want. I wouldn't have learned not to assume things. Making the conscious decision to live on my own terms didn't come easy because originally it wasn't the choice I made. Originally, I was just kind of doing what I was told, and like, you know, well, this is just the life that I'm going to have because anything otherwise is going to end in, you know, disaster. But that just wasn't working for me.
well, as you've proven, if you tell Jake that he can't do something, Jake's going to do it.
Jake, or I'm going to try, right? Like, and if I and look, and this is the thing that I've learned most, right? Is, and even my mother has come around to appreciating this more. My mother used to be of the mindset of, don't let Jake try because they'll get hurt. Versus now it's, well, let's let Jake try, and if Jake needs help, they'll ask, or they can't do it, they can't do it, but we're gonna let them try. And I think sometimes, and I can't believe I'm about to say these words, and I'm sure she will record this and play it on loop. I have gained a newfound appreciation from my mother that I never thought I would ever be able to reach, because she was a single mother who raised 3 boys, all
God
with
bless
this
her.
condition. Yeah, all of this medical condition with no history of it in the family. And I was the oldest, so I was always protected more than anybody else. And we butted heads a lot. I believe that my mother only ever wanted my life to be as easy as humanly possible. I think that because of that, it took me until I got around this age to realize that when you have a kid, they don't come with a manual. And looking back on it, I wish I could tell her, like, if there was one thing I could go back and do, I wish I could tell her, hey, I know that the instinct is you have this boy or the boys and they're sick and you want to protect them. let us try a little bit more. It'll save us a lot of gruff in the future, but that we see that you're trying and that I see it, and that, yeah, I may not always like the answer you give me. And, 9, 10-year-old me is probably going to be pretty pissed off at you about it. But older me is eventually going to look back on it and be like, yeah, okay, I could see how you could get to the maybe let's not play full contact football thing. And so I guess like that's kind of like one of the things I do that led me to make the conscious decision at all, was that I looked back and I went, I saw what happens if it's too far in one direction. And then I went and I took it too far in the other direction. And now I've kind of found this happy medium. And I don't know if there's a lot of parents out there that listen to your podcast, but if there are, and take this from me for what it's worth, sometimes kids just need to be allowed to be kids. And in the long run, they will thank you for it, because if they go out there and try and it just doesn't go the way that they want, they're going to be much more likely inclined to ask you for help rather than say nothing. That's
I 100% agree. And I think that it's okay to let kids get hurt. You know what I mean? You learn from failures, and
I think you have to.
Yes, absolutely.
I would not. So my DJ career started because someone said I didn't dress the right way. Like they said that I wanted to play in a gay nightclub. I was non-binary. They said, lose the skirt. Your music's great, but we don't like this. I'm like, if the lights are on in your nightclub, you have a bigger problem than what I'm wearing. I would argue perhaps that maybe you should turn the lights off. And so what we did was we went and started our own event. We literally, that is how Lobo started, was we got told we don't look and talk and dress the right way, but our music is what they want to hear. And we said, okay, hold our beer. And then 2 years later went and played that club anyways and charged them double.
I love that.
So, but
again, don't tell Jake he can't do it.
But that failure, right? Like that level of feeling whatever it was, that no, that being told no, that being told you can't, that sense of not sadness because I failed, it became a driver, right? That I would not have ever been able to achieve if I had just gotten it out the gate. So I agree with you.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. That's a great story on that. Jake, unfortunately we are out of time, but I can't tell you how thankful I am that you joined us tonight, and really appreciate it. And what a great story. And I hope that, this helps a lot of people. And yeah, I loved having you. I mean, it was a great conversation.
Yeah, you guys are amazing.
Thank you for joining us, even though you weren't feeling so good.
I know,
today.
I felt bad.
It's really awesome that you were able to take the time.
I feel a lot better actually leaving the interview, weirdly enough. This has given me a little bit of a boost that I really needed. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh, awesome. That makes me feel better then. Jake, what size shirt do you wear?
I believe I am a large, because I like shirts looser.
A large.
All right.
Well, okay. We're going to try to get you out a shirt for the episode. We really appreciate it, and hope you feel better. Don't stop. Don't
stop being Jake.
Yeah, keep
doing.
Keep telling people I can do it.
I want an update on this trip to Charlotte, and I want to see how that goes. Definitely, please take some pictures and send it to me, because
absolutely,
we love our queens, and we love our big girls especially. So
yeah,
I would definitely do that. Then I will send you some pictures and probably a video or two of them.
Yes, queen. All right.
All right, Jake. Have a good night. Get better, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.